All right, everyone. I think we've given enough time. Let's get started. So I want to welcome you all to our webinar on better understanding the Alibaba.com buyer's journey and how you can use this knowledge to increase your sales. My name is Sara Nixon, and to give you a little bit of background on myself, I run the account management team here at Alibaba.com. I've been working here for more than 2 years, and prior to my time at Alibaba.com, I worked at various US marketplaces like OpenSky and Living Social. My job is to make sure that you guys are all successful, and our account management team is here to help you figure out how to best navigate the platform and answer any questions that you may have. Today, I will guide you through how buyers go from searching to buying on Alibaba.com and where you can optimize for success at each step of the buyer's journey. So we're going to go over tips and tricks on how you can best optimize for getting more impressions, getting more clicks, getting more inquiries, and ultimately getting more orders. At the end, we will have a Q&A with any questions that you may have. So to start, let's walk through exactly what a buyer does when they come to Alibaba.com. So the first thing your buyer will do when they come to Alibaba.com is they will run a search to look for products to purchase. The majority of times a buyer comes to Alibaba.com, they are already looking for a certain product. To help them find what they are looking for, they will type in different keywords in this search bar here. So let's just use an example of red apples. So if I'm a buyer who wants to purchase red apples, right? I have a small store, I need red apples. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come to Alibaba.com. I'm gonna type in this search bar, red apple. As you can see here, after I click search, many different product pages will show up for me as the buyer so that I can browse, right? I can start to see what types of products are available to me. As a seller, in this part of the buyer's journey, what you want to do is have your product pages obviously show up here so that the buyer can see it. Or in other words, that you can get the buyer's impression. The more impressions that you get, the higher likelihood you have of the buyer to see your products and move on to the next step of the buyer journey, which is actually clicking in to your product page. As a buyer, I'm going to scroll through the product pages and I'm going to click into the one that seems to be the most appealing to me and my business. So buyers are going to base what's appealing to them on a couple different things, such as the pricing. They're going to take a look at the MOQ. They're going to definitely take a look at the image. And they're also going to look at the product title and make sure it's relevant for them. So as a buyer, if I'm taking a look, I'm scrolling through, I see a product that is relevant to me, I'm going to click in to that product page. After the buyers clicked into the product page, it takes us to the next step of the buyer journey, which is whether or not they're going to actually send an inquiry. So as a buyer, what I would do here is I would take a look at all of the seller's information on the product page. So I'm going to take a look at their images, their additional images. I'm going to take a look at the pricing. Again, I'm going to take a look at the MOQs. I'm going to take a look here on their company highlights. I'm going to see if they have a ton of product detail information, right? Because I need to make an educated decision. Is this the right supplier for me? So I'm going to take a look at all of this information to decide, hey, is this the right seller for me? Another thing that I would do as a buyer is I'd also click in here to this mini site page to take a look and make sure that this seller has information about their business, make sure that they look professional, so I can decide if I want to take the next step in that buyer journey, which is actually to contact the supplier here and send them a message. If there's no information, I would be less likely to actually send the inquiry. So after I send an inquiry to the supplier, the next step in the buyer journey is actually whether or not I'm going to place an order, right? So placing an order is the last step of the buyer journey. If after I've sent an inquiry and the seller gets back to me incredibly quickly with the right amount of information, I'm going to be more likely to place an order with them because we've established trust. We've established a relationship. I'm going to take that next step and say, okay, I'm going to place an order with them. So that is truthfully walking through exactly what the buyer does and what the buyer thought process is when they're looking for products, searching for products, and what they need to do to ultimately decide, hey, am I going to place an order or not? So now I want to walk you guys through this really great visual that we created that I will share with you guys also after the webinar. So this is something that you will have at your fingertips, and it's something you can frequently come back to. But you can see we created this visual, and on the left-hand side of this visual, you can see step by step we've listed what we just actually walked through on what the buyer does on the platform. So remember, first the buyer is going to run a search, then they will click into the products, then they will send an inquiry, then they will ultimately send an order. On the right-hand side, we've listed out what you should be doing to optimize at each step of this journey and what you should be focusing on increasing so that you can ultimately get more orders, right? So you should be focused on increasing those numbers of impressions, ultimately increasing the number of clicks you've received, increasing the number of inquiries you received, and at the end of the day, increasing more orders. So this is something that, again, you will consistently come back to. You may be saying now, okay, well, how do I do those things? How do I increase more impressions? What do I need to do to increase more clicks? What do I need to do to increase more more inquiries and more orders? So now for this part of the webinar, we're going to break down step by step different things you can do, starting with how you can get more impressions, right? So the first thing that you can do to get more impressions, so again, remember, making sure that you're showing up more in search, is you can improve your star ranking. So we rate all of our sellers on a scale of 0 to 5 stars based on 5 different metrics. So star supplier affects how you can increase your impressions because the higher star rating that you have, the more we will actually boost you organically in search and the more impressions that you will receive. So it is very important as a seller for you to be continuously working on your star supplier score so that you can show up more in search and ultimately get more of those free organic impressions. It's very important that you schedule time with your account manager if you have any questions about what you in particular can do to improve your star rating, as they are here to help, and they will be more than happy to take a look at your account and see what they can do to increase your star rating so that you have 5 star and are getting a ton of organic impressions. The second thing that you can do is you can launch and optimize your keyword advertising. So advertised products appear first in search, and you can use your keyword advertising to filter to showing up in front of certain types of buyers that may fit your particular business needs. So our membership packages come with $500 or $2,000 of keyword advertising credit. So it's so important to make sure that you guys are using this tool and utilizing it, because it will increase your likelihood of showing up higher in search and increase your likelihood of getting impressions, right? And that's the very top of the funnel, the first thing you need to do to get in front of that buyer. Another tip that we have for you to get more impressions, and this is also a great one that's totally in your control, is you can post as many products as possible. The more products you have, the higher likelihood you have to get those impressions and to show up more in search. So even if you only have a couple of products in your catalog, it's so important that you create multiple listings with different keywords to, again, just increase that likelihood of showing up in more in search and getting those buyers' impressions. I know this may be different than other platforms that you are on, But on our platform, what we want you to do, right, is to get as many impressions as possible, because that's the very start of the funnel to ultimately get more orders. So this is a great thing that you can do that's completely in your control, is just start to consistently add more and more products, just using different keywords, so that you can, again, just increase that likelihood of showing up more in search. And so, and the last tip that we have to getting more impressions is to turn on your product showcase. Product showcases boost the visibility of select products organically in search. So your membership does come with 5 automatically, but you always can purchase more if that's something that you want to do. You can just reach out to your account manager and they will help you with that. And so we have 2 different ways you can turn your product showcase on. You can either manually add the product you would like organically boosted, or you can use one of our newest tools, which is called Smart Showcase, which uses our data intelligence to promote your highest converting products to the right buyers. So it is very, very important that you make sure, after this webinar, I would make sure that I had my product showcase turned on, because again, this is just an easy way for you to organically start to generate more impressions and organically start to show up more in search, which again is the first part of the buyer funnel. You want to show up to the buyer on that product page so that they can take that next step, which is actually clicking into your products. So how do you get more clicks? How do you get more people who, after they've seen your products, decide to take that next step of the buyer journey and click in to learn more? So the first thing that we recommend is to make sure you are consistently optimizing your product titles, your pricing, your minimum order quantities. It's so important here for sellers to make sure that they're advertising your lowest wholesale pricing and your minimum order quantities, because you really want to encourage the buyers to learn more about your products. I've definitely heard some feedback from sellers on this point that they don't want to lead with their lowest pricing, and that they want to be up for negotiation, and that's totally okay. I would just recommend, just like this image has right here, that you do set a range pricing of, your lowest to your highest, so that highest pricing, so that way that buyers, they can see that and they'll say, okay, I'm going to click in to learn more and send that inquiry, right? So I think that is something that's very, very important to do. It's also very important to think of your product titles as an advertisement more than anything else. So you want the buyer to be able to quickly understand exactly what it is you're selling and why they should be looking at your product. So if you have anything that you want to call out that makes your product special, your product title is the place to do that. And if you have something that is totally unique, put that in the product title so that the buyer knows and can say, okay, that makes a ton of sense to me. I'm going to click in and learn more. The second tip that we have for you that is incredibly important is making sure that you use attractive primary images. And you should also be using definitely more than one image, right? So the first thing that buyers are going to judge when they are scrolling, remember we went through and we scrolled and we looked at all those pictures of the red apple. The first thing that your eye is going to do is take a look at the image. If it is an attractive image, buyers are going to be more likely to actually click into the product. If you have a picture that is blurry or a picture that's completely misleading to what you're actually selling, you will decrease your likelihood of a seller clicking in to learn more. So again, it's just so important that you put your best foot forward with a really, really great, solid image. So after, remember when we went through this, after the buyer clicked into the product page, the next step that they are going to take is they're going to send an inquiry or not. So how do you increase your likelihood of them actually sending you an inquiry? The first thing that we do suggest is to make sure that you do add robust product details, images, and videos. So remember when we had scrolled through the page, you could see that the seller that we looked at had very, very, very detailed product information. The more information you have, the more you can help your buyer actually make a purchasing decision. If you do not have any information, the buyer may be like, okay, they don't have anything. I'm going to move on and I'm going to find someone that has more relevant information to what I'm looking for. So again, so important to add the robust product details, add images, and add videos. The second thing that you can do is make sure your mini site and company profile information is filled out. So buyers will frequently check out your mini site to just learn more about you and your business, right? And your supplier quality. So if nothing is filled out, they may not take you as a serious seller, and therefore will be less likely to send you an inquiry. So to get more of those inquiries, make sure, again, just to recap, make sure all of your product information is incredibly detailed, and make sure your company profile and storefront has the information that you want to showcase about your business. So the last step of the buyer journey is, how do you get more orders, right? That's the last step of the process, is the buyer actually placing an order. So to optimize at this step of the process, the number one thing that I can't recommend enough is to make sure that you are responding to all of your inquiries as soon as possible. So suppliers who respond to inquiries within 4 hours have a significantly higher chance at actually generating orders. So to give you guys context about our platform, buyers will send multiple inquiries to different suppliers during their journey, right? So when we were scrolling through that page, there was a ton of different products. If I'm a buyer, I'm probably going to message a couple different sellers that I see, because I need to make sure that I can get my product, and I need to make sure that I'm finding the right fit. So I am going to be more likely to actually place an order with someone if they respond to me quickly. If it takes someone 48 hours to respond to me, I may not take them as a serious seller, and I might have already moved on and placed an order with someone else. So this is something that is completely in your control, and something I can't, again, recommend enough, that to get more orders, make sure that you are responding quickly, so that, again, you can just increase that likelihood of edging out the competition. So that is our number one tip. And there are a couple things that you can do to make sure that you don't miss an inquiry and increase your likelihood of getting that order. So the first thing I would recommend here to do is just to download our Alibaba Supplier mobile app by heading to the App Store. This will ensure basically that you can answer any message that you have on the go. I get that we are all very, very, very busy people, and time goes so quickly, and you want to make sure that you can, instead of being pulled so many different ways, the app is a great opportunity for you to just quickly respond on the go. So I would definitely recommend, if you have not already, to download our Alibaba Supplier mobile app. And another thing that you can do is just make sure that your automatic response tool is set up. So our automatic response tool is basically like having an automated sales assistant who can immediately gather information from incoming inquiries. And so you can set a welcome message, you can provide several common responses to questions about your products, and you can program set questions for buyers to answer. Your automatic response tool will instantly send a message to the buyer once they send you an inquiry. So right away, they will hear something from you. And we actually, as of very, very recently, we have now made it so that if you set up program questions for buyers to answer, it will count as a response to suppliers, and you will only have to go in and respond within 24 hours if the buyer writes back to the question that was sent. I highly recommend, again, scheduling some time with your account manager after this call to set up your automatic response so that you can get that started, and again, just increase your likelihood of responding quickly to buyers. And then the last tip that we have to keep more orders is to make sure that you provide world-class customer service. So if you do get an order, it's incredibly important that you make sure you ship on time. It's make sure that you handle it very, very professionally and you work closely with them, with your buyer, because B2B wholesale buyers are highly valuable. So if you provide each inquiry with top quality salesmanship and service, you'll be more likely to build a long-lasting, lucrative business relationship. So that is what I wanted to walk you guys through today. You know, I know I've given you a ton of information of different things that you can do to ultimately optimize what the buyer does and how you can increase your likelihood, again, of showing up in search so that you can increase your likelihood of getting more clicks and so that you can increase your likelihood of getting more inquiries, and so you can increase your likelihood of getting more orders. But now I actually want to stop sharing my screen and really take some time now to open it up to you guys so that you can ask any questions that you may have. So I believe you guys can just go to the Q&A and just type in any questions that you have. So the first question that you have is, where do you set up the automated sales response in My Alibaba? So it's actually under communications. If you go to communications, I can actually quickly share my screen with you guys because I do have a test account. I'll share my screen again. If you go to My Alibaba, you hover over communications, you hover over messages. And underneath reception setting, you'll see smart response. And you'll be able to set up here your automatic response settings. Let's see some other questions. So the next question I have is, what is the best way to utilize my marketing credits? How much and how often do I need to spend to be at the top of the rankings? So that's honestly going to depend on, you know, the types of keywords that you are bidding on. What I would recommend you doing is scheduling time with your account manager. By scheduling time with your account manager, they will give you a one-on-one of exactly what you need to do to set up a keyword advertising campaign to make it specific for you and your business needs. So I would definitely say, like right away, the first thing I would do after this webinar is schedule time with your account manager. They will walk you through the best way to utilize it. Let's see. The next question. So this is a great question. How do I respond to inquiries / RFQs that have no relationship to my product whatsoever? So for the inquiries, if you do receive an inquiry that is not relevant to you, you can always report it as spam, right? If it's another seller that's reaching out to you, as long as you respond, you know, mark it as spam within 24 hours, then it won't count against your response rate for Star Supplier. So I would definitely recommend we have that ability. You can mark as spam, or you could just send a message, hey, this is not something that is I'm interested in. And that would be okay. For RFQs, it's important to realize for RFQs, it's not something that you need to do. An RFQ is something which stands for request for quotation. Basically, for RFQs, you have the ability to reach out to buyers that may be looking for products that you have or don't have. If you feel like they do not have a relationship to your products, don't waste your time on those RFQs. In your RFQ section, you can actually, there's a search bar in the RFQ where you can search for RFQs. So you can type in keywords. Similar to just me pretending to be a buyer, you can also search for RFQs in a similar way. You can type in a keyword, and then RFQs that are relevant to that keyword will populate. And that's also a quick tip for you to use just to kind of find RFQs that may be very relevant to you. Next question. This is also a phenomenal question. When you mentioned reposting products with different keywords, does that mean I could have the same product with different titles in the same product category? So example, 2 Spider-Mans in electronic speakers versus 1 electronics and 1 in toys. Yes, they can be in the same category. That's totally fine. They just need to have different product titles and different keywords. So it would be considered a complete duplicate if you basically had all of the same product type, like the exact same product titles for both. We would not want to do that. You would want to make sure that the product title was different. Let's see. Next question. Hi, Sarah. You mentioned answering quickly when dealing with international with time changes. It's difficult. It definitely is. Would you be willing to address how people can sign up their account team to do the daily management for smaller companies? We love this service. That is a great comment. So we do have something called full account management, where we've partnered with 2 companies. Their names are both Trademore and iTech, and they both offer full service account management. So basically what they will do is they will take a lot of the heavy lifting off of your plate. So they will respond to your messages within 24 hours. They will help you add additional products. They will help you optimize your campaigns. And this is a service that we do have that is available. And if you are interested in learning more, or this is something that you want to do, please don't hesitate to reach out to your account manager. You can also feel free to reach out to me, and I can, let you know what the next steps are of getting that set up. Wow, we got a lot of questions. I love it, guys. Let's see. One is I am having trouble with my product photos. They are the same photos I use on many other selling sites, and they look great. But there could be something you're doing wrong. In that case, I think it would be very helpful to send over to your account manager. They can take a look because they do know what the different dimensions are that we need to post products. So they may be able to have some suggestions for you in particular there. The next question that came in is, what is a good tip to gain my second star as a seller? So one thing for your star rating is I would need to take a look at each account, because how star rating works is whatever your lowest metric is what your star rating score is. So it's going to depend on every account's going to be a little different. If you have a 5-star in everything except your conversion rate, then I would say, hey, you need to focus on your conversion rate. If you have a 5-star in everything except your response rate, I would say you need to focus on your response rate. So if you go to your when you go to analytics and you go to star ratings, you can take a look and see what your score is, and it will show you exactly which metric you in particular as the seller need to work on. So I would make sure that that's something you are continuously checking. We also do send emails out. Every single Tuesday, you should be getting an email, and it does come from me. That basically is a star supplier report card. So it will give you an update of exactly where you stand and what metric you need to work on. Let's see some other questions that you guys have. Will Alibaba sanction me if I provide my contact information through the platform, such as an email, cell phone, etc.? We will not if you send that within an inquiry at all. The only thing to note is in the automatic response tool, you can't put in your welcome message any personal information. But if you're just talking to a supplier back and forth and you want to give your email address and you want to take it offline, that's absolutely something that you could do. Another great question, what would you suggest, a custom campaign or a smart marketing for keyword advertising? So I actually would recommend probably running both at the same time. Smart marketing is amazing because basically our system's doing all the work for you. It uses our data intelligence to cast out a wide net, whereas custom campaigns, you can get a little bit more granular in the type of keyword advertising you do. That's the main difference really between the two. I would probably run both. So I'd have like my broad smart marketing where I'm casting a little bit of a wider net. And then if there were like specific words I wanted to bid on or just get a little bit more granular in the types of buyer audience that I wanted to get in front of, I would also run that custom campaign. And let's just have a couple more questions. It's honestly great that you guys, there's so many that are coming in. I'll make sure too, if you guys, just one thing to note, if we don't have enough time, we can also always, you can always shoot me an email and I'll make sure to answer as well. This is a great question. Is there a way to find out keyword rankings that Alibaba.com has seen? We do have an analytics tool where you can see which keywords are popular on Alibaba.com. So if you just go to your analytics section on your dashboard and you take a look there, there is market insights where you can pull reports on keywords and you can see which keywords are performing well and which, you know, maybe aren't. So that's a great tool that you can use. And I would definitely recommend also taking some time to play in our analytics section because there's so many great tools and so much data that's at your fingertips. So I would definitely spend some time, you know, playing around in there. And again, reach out to your account manager if you have any questions. They will be able to help you out. So another great question, is there a way to check out the credibility of the buyer? I do want to show you guys something that you can do. Just let me quickly share my screen with you guys so that we can do it in a test account because this may be helpful. When you go to your message center, and again, this is a test account, so just so you guys know, these aren't real inquiries. But what you can do is when you're in your communication and you pull up a message, what you can do is you can click customer. Just bear with me as this loads. And you can see here something called customer activity. So you can see what the seller has, or sorry, what the buyer has done and what their activity has been on the platform in the past 90 days. So you can see how, you know, how often they've logged in, how many products they've looked at, how many valid inquiries they've sent, and how many spam inquiries they've sent, if they've been blacklisted, if they've sent valid RFQs. You can see the types of industries, like recent things they've searched. So this is a good gut check for you. If you see that someone has, 5 valid inquiries and 500 spam inquiries, to me, that would be a gut check. Okay, this buyer may not be someone that I want to spend or waste my, spend my time on. Also, you can see different products that they've viewed. If it's something that's so wildly different from what you're selling and you can see it's a bunch of different types of products, then that may not be a seller that's 100% serious. So those are just some of the things you can do as just a gut check, is take a look here. So again, it's under customer activity within your messages. So you can kind of get a gut check of, oh, this may be someone who's serious, or, oh, this may not be someone that I want to spend my time with. So let's get a couple more questions in. So here's a good one too. So frequently I receive requests to respond directly to a buyer's email. What is the best way to handle that? I think that's truthfully up to you and what you feel most comfortable doing. We do have it where sometimes buyers and sellers do take things off the platform, and we're okay with that. If you're not comfortable with it though, you can just let the buyer know, hey, I would like to keep this on Alibaba.com. That's okay. One thing I will just be wary of to make sure is that if anyone ever sends you like a link that looks suspicious, or they take it offline in an email and they say, press this link and place this order through Alibaba.com, that is something that is probably most likely a phishing scam. And that is something obviously you want to make sure that you stay away from. So it's just something to be a little bit wary about, and just to be cognizant that that's something that can happen. So I would just advise, if you ever see a link and it looks like it's going to be like it's on, it looks like it's an Alibaba link, but then you actually take a look at the link and it's something totally different, make sure you don't do anything and you move on. So just something to be cognizant about. Let me see. I'm going to just answer a couple more. So this is a good question. So it said, while you addressed marking it as spam, I was told by my account manager that I must answer spam email because it could affect your star rating. So you can always mark something as spam. If you think something is spam, you can mark it as spam. Just make sure you do it within 24 hours. I believe what your account manager was trying to convey to you is that if you mark it as spam, it basically zeroes out. So it's almost like you didn't get a message. If you only got that one spam inquiry, that could affect your star rating, because you need at least one inquiry to be able to get to a 1 star in the number of active visitors. So that's what they meant by that. But I would say, if you follow what we went through today and you work on getting more impressions and you take the steps to get more impressions, and then you take the steps obviously to optimize to get more clicks, to ultimately get more inquiries, you should be fine, right? I would mark it as spam and just work on trying to get more of those inquiries. And the first step of that journey is to make sure that you're getting as many impressions as possible. So what I would do if I were you then, I would be adding more products. I would be making sure my product showcase was turned on. I'd be making sure my keyword advertising was turned on. Those are all things that you can do that are totally in your control. So let's just answer one more question. Let's see. So this is also another good question. Being a US supplier, how could we compete with Chinese sellers? I can never get as low as the price of their products. That's okay, right? So sometimes they're gonna have lower prices than you do. I think what's important to do there is to make sure that you're calling out in your product titles other things that make you special. So it's not always going to be for every single buyer that the lowest price is the most important thing. It may be that you can ship very quickly, or it may be that you have something completely unique that no one else has. Call that out in your product title so that, again, remember when I was scrolling through, I'm not just going to look at lowest price and lowest MOQ. I'm also going to be taking a look at the product title, and I'm going to make sure that the product that I'm picking is a product that is something unique and something special. So I would call that out instead in your product title, and focus on that instead of necessarily being like, okay, I gotta beat all these Chinese suppliers. You can beat them in other ways. That's what makes you and your business special. So call that out. And then I'm gonna just answer one more. And this is also a good question. So it's apparently to reach the 5-star seller level, I need to have close to 250 products. Does that mean I need to repeat the same product several times with different titles? So if you want to, again, if you have other products, make sure you're adding your other products in your catalog. But yes, you would need to, if you only have 5 products and you do want to get to that 5-star, we do recommend, obviously, to make sure that you are repeating that product with definitely different titles. And that is something that is totally okay on our platform, and something that we definitely do recommend you guys doing so that you can, again, just increase your likelihood of showing up more in search. I really, really hope, you guys, that this has been something that's been helpful for you. We are going to be making sure that we're continuously doing webinars like this with you guys so that you can make sure that you're hearing from us consistently. So expect more webinars and more content coming from us. And if you guys ever do need anything, I am here to help. My team of account managers is here to help. And we are more than happy. We are only an email or a phone call away. So we are definitely here to help you guys. And I want to thank you all for taking the time today and spending it with me. We will make sure that we also get this sent out so you guys have this recording. And again, if you ever need anything, we are only an email or a phone call away. So make sure that you do reach out so that we can make sure that you guys are successful on the platform. Thank you so much, everyone.